So, I'm someone who doesn't really like free games, generally speaking. Because generally speaking, free games tend to make up for their lack of requirement of being bought by inserting something called microtransactions. Microtransactions are also known as in-app purchases or in-game purchases, which I highly hate. But I've known to bend that rule every now and then. There have been occasional free games which I find pretty good. When I say free games, I do not mean the little indie games that I play on this channel. I mean the bigger kind of games, if you know what I mean. More recently, there's this game that's boomed in popularity. And it caught my attention and I can't help but make a video on it. And it was, I love it. I actually love it. I don't believe I'm saying this, but I love a free game. What is that game? Well, that game is Genshin Impact. What is that game? If you've not heard of it, what is it all about? It is very new. I'm gonna get into that in this video, so stick around. We'll find out together.
So, first of all, let's establish what kind of game this is. What is its genre? Well, it's an open-world RPG game with gacha mechanics imported into it. Now, what does gacha mean? What does RPG mean? And what is an open-world game? I can hear your brains fart from over here, so let's explain. RPG is a role-playing game. Essentially, you're given a character. In this game, you're given the choice between a boy or a girl. They're both siblings. And you upgrade the character along the way. Not just the character, but the other characters which collect along the way. Their weapons, their equipment, their skills, etc., etc. Gacha basically means that you use in-game currency to buy a pack. In that pack, you're guaranteed to get 5 items, of which you can get weapons, equipment, characters, etc., etc., etc. I said etc. more than I've ever said in my life in this one video. Now, the gacha mechanics are something that you've all seen before, but you didn't know that that's what they were actually called. I did say that I hate microtransactions at the beginning of this video. This game has them, but you don't have to, because that currency that you use for the gacha mechanic, you can obtain it throughout the game, throughout doing certain things. You obtain it progressively, so you don't have to buy it, which I find to be very useful and very neatly done. Now, open world is basically meaning that you have your own map, your big map, and you can roam around doing whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to, it's not a linear experience where you have to go there and there and there. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Now, let's talk a bit about the gameplay. I already touched up on the fact that you have multiple characters. What does that mean? Well, through the gacha mechanic and through the game itself, you obtain multiple characters who join your quote-unquote team. You can choose up to 4 characters at a time to play as. You can switch between them and play with each character. Now, you might be wondering, why the fuck would I want to switch in between characters? Well, that brings me to my next point in gameplay. This game focuses on elements. Water, fire, air, etc., etc. I gotta stop saying etc. Each character has their own element. Your main character has the element of air. Other characters have fire, water, energy, whatever it may be. See, I skipped etc. right there. I'm not going to delve too deep into the gameplay mechanics because it's really intricate. The one main theme you're going to see in this video is that this game has a lot of effort put into it, an absurd amount of effort put into it. Given that it's a free game, given that it's a game in general, some paid games don't even have that much effort put into them. As gameplay mechanics go, again, not going to go too deep into it, but essentially the elements work together in some way. So let's say your main character is an air character. Let's say you walked through water, now your character is wet. Which sounds sexual, but it isn't. Now, if you were to use your elemental attacks, you would be water and no longer just air. They would mix in between them. If you were to walk through fire, it would be also fire. Elements mix in between each other. If you were water and, let's say if you were a water character and walked through fire, then you would give whatever element, I'm not sure. I've been playing the game for 6 hours, man, and I still don't know everything about this game, or most of the shit in this game. The game tutorializes you the more you discover along the way when it comes to combat, so you're not left in the blue, but it's a bit, it's really intricate, not complicated, not hard to get a hang of, but it's amazing how vast it is. Now that's all I'm going to say about the gameplay. I'm going to stop myself there because last time I went on a 10-minute tangent. This is my 10th recording at this point. Now let's talk about another aspect in this game which I absolutely love, which you've probably noticed during this video and you probably noticed while playing the game, and it is the fantastic soundtrack. This game has one of the most beautiful soundtracks that I've ever heard. This game It's an orchestral soundtrack. It's not a half-assed SoundCloud rapper kind of thing. It's an actual full-blown, effortful soundtrack. I made up that word. I'm not sure if that's real. It's a soundtrack which I love to the point where I have it downloaded on my phone. I'm not exaggerating. It's on my phone. I love that soundtrack. Keep in mind, I haven't played this game for a week or a month or how. I've played it for like 6 or 7 hours, but I've fallen in love with a lot of aspects in it. The game has yet to punch me in the face. I'm still waiting if that were something to happen, but so far it's a great experience. The soundtrack, I can't touch up on how amazing that soundtrack is. How much I love that soundtrack. It evokes emotion and it takes me way back, man. But that's something I'm going to talk in the end of the video. Back on track. Soundtrack done and gameplay done. What is there left to talk about? The story? Well, I'm not going to dive too deep into the story because I don't even really know the extent of the story. The idea is, this isn't spoilers, you just get this in the opening cutscene. You and your sibling were fighting a certain character. Along the way during that fight against that certain character, the character captures your sibling and disappears, throws you to the world where you play the rest of the game. Now you have to find your way back and find your brother or sister, given which character which you choose. The story is it follows certain tropes, but it's not a bad story. The characters along the way are very interesting. The world is very lively. It's not a monotonous kind of world where it's just NPCs that do nothing. It's actually a very lively world. The voice acting in this game is fantastic, which brings me to my next point. The amount of effort put into this game is scary. And what I mean by that is the following. I'm going to give this one example and leave it to that because it is the best example that I could give. Each character which you find along the way, each character which you add to your team along the way, has one bit in their menu which is just a screen full of not 4 or 5, a screen full, you just scroll through them, of audio files of them just talking about what their favorite food is, what their least favorite food is, talking about just random shit. There's a lot of shit there that is just outstanding. There are a bunch of books and manuscripts which you can find hidden around the world which tell certain stories which the game doesn't want to bore you with. Sometimes it's like, okay, here's that story which I could say right now and talk about, but you wouldn't care too much about. So here's this book. Feel free to read it. There's a fuck ton of lore in this game. There's a fuck ton of effort. It's just a fantastic game which I've fallen in love with. It's a free game. I don't know why I love this game so much. It's just fantastic. I'm gonna love it more the more I play it. Some games I have an intuition about. This is one of those games. Pick it up. It's a fantastic game. There's one more thing I want to talk about, but I'm going to leave that to video, Carl. So I'm going to sign off for now.
So the final aspect I'm going to talk about, this game took me back because it's been a while since I played a game that had that much intricacy put into it and that had that much effort put into it, but more importantly, there's that mystic feel. What I mean is, there was a game back in the day, like 4 or 5 years ago, back in the day, I used to play with my friends. It was our RuneScape, basically. It was called Celtic Heroes. It was an MMORPG on the phone. It's free. It's still available. You can play it. It's not as good as it once was. And there was that innocent feeling that you got from it. That feeling of, hey, you got nothing to do. Come back from school. Quickly do your homework. Now grind for hours with your friends and gain XP and do this and do that. This game has that mystical feel, that innocent feel that's like, hey, chill. Forget everything going on in your world. This is your world. For the time being, this is your world. Sit in it. Play around. Focus on this. It grabs you. Not in the point where you can't pull away anymore, but it's like, take a breath. And it's refreshing. I haven't played a game like that in a long while. Not to discredit a lot of other games which I played because they're fantastic and they are immersive, but there's just one specific feel which I haven't been able to get in a long while, which I've finally been able to get from a free game of all things. It's come full circle. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. Subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Twitter and Discord in the description as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video. As always, stay safe. Peace.